So before I welcome the filmmakers down to chat with me, just a reminder, I'm Timothy E. Raw. I write for Cine Outsider, where we'll be publishing a review of the film later this week. And Looper, I saw Looper today. It's that time travel stuff, man. It flies your brain. And we'll be also posting a video of tonight's conversation as well, which Patrick from Raindance, thanks Patrick, has gladly agreed to film for us. And I've also been encouraged by the higher-ups to get you all to tweet, apparently, during a Q&A. It sounds a little weird to me, but, you know, if any of our musings amuse or enlighten you, please put it out into the tweet sphere and share the love for strings. So without further ado, let's get the filmmakers down. Tonight we have with us the writer, producer, and photographer Rob Savage. And we have three of the principal cast members. How about you do the honours and introduce your wonderful cast?
Unfortunately, we don't have Philine Lembeck, who was the German lead, but we've got Oliver Malam, who was John, Hannah Wilder, who played Scout, and Akbar Ali, who played Chris.
And Rob's going to sit next to me here. It's on the end there. So if our actors can share the cable mic amongst themselves, and Rob and I will share the free-ranging mic here. So, when was it exactly that you wrote this, Rob?
Well, I started writing strings when I was 16 as a short film, and it was all set in one room. It was about people having awkward conversations after they'd had sex, and it was made up of nothing but that. It was about 5 minutes long, just people chatting. So we shot the first day with my friends, starring in it just on a crappy handycam, and I was pretty pleased with it. I mean, this was when I was 16, so it looked pretty good. And as I was uploading that onto my hard drive, there was this massive power surge, and it lost all the footage, destroyed my laptop, everything was fried, and I thought, I'm going to give up on filmmaking and become manager at McDonald's or something.
And what was it that got you back in the saddle, as it were? You got your inspiration back, I hear, from seeing a particular film.
Well, kind of after I decided I was never going to make a film again, I started watching a lot of films to kind of show myself what I was missing out on. And one of the ones that I caught was a German film called Requiem, which is just knocked me out when I saw it. It was screening at London Film Festival in 2007, I think. And it just epitomised the kind of film that I wanted to make, and reminded me that it's worth all the shit and piss and pain that comes with making a film to actually get something that's as close to your heart as what you put on the screen. So as soon as I saw that movie, I watched it a bunch of times. I bought the DVD, and I wrote an email to Sandra Hüller, who's the German star of it, who won the Silver Bear at Berlin for a performance that year. So I contacted her, and we kind of started chatting, became friends, and I went over to meet her in Munich and told her about my idea.
So you went over to Munich. you spoke to a Silver Bear winning actress at Berlin. Usually when an actress wins an accolade like that, you don't have that kind of access. And you were chatting for quite some time, I imagine, before you went over?
Yeah, well, we've been chatting for about a year, and then I flew over to see her in a play. She was doing a theatre version of the Three Colours trilogy, which are like my favourite films of all time.
Oh, me too.
So, well, there we go. So I went over and met her, and I started talking about it. I'd started doing this film, and I was really passionate about it, but then I gave up after we lost all the footage. And she said, no, you should definitely make this film. In fact, you should try and make something longer, because, you know, a 5-minute piece of people talking in rooms, you know, there are a million of those. You should try and do something really ambitious. And see what happens with it. You'll learn something. It's the worst that can happen. So I started thinking maybe I can make this longer. Maybe I could even make a feature. And at the time I was in Munich, she started to introduce me to some of her friends, and one of them was Philine Lembeck, who's the German star, who Sandra had kind of been mentoring. We got on really well. So we started talking about the possibility of her taking on the role of Grace, who was just an English character at that point.
And obviously this is a really personal picture for you, and you wrote this when you were a teenager. Now, here's the thing about when you write things as a teenager, be it poetry or songs, dare I say it, screenwriting, a lot of it, if not all of it, can feel really shamelessly autobiographical. So I'm wondering, is there a German exchange student somewhere out there that broke little Rob Savage's heart?
She's certainly not German, but in essence, yes. I mean, even down to the fact that, I mean, that we had a script that we didn't necessarily stick to. We improvised around and we talked a lot about the characters and we developed it. And I was, at the time, I was kind of going through a breakup as we were making the film. So literally I'd get kicked out of bed one night and I had to sleep under some warm pizza boxes so I could kicked out of bed in the morning. And as I was doing that and not being able to sleep, I was writing in this new fresh material that I was getting as we were shooting the film.
Under crusty pizza.
Under crusty, it's where the best poetry is written. So, very.
So, to the cast, now I was reading about this, I'm not quite sure that I've got this accurate, but I believe that you guys, in preparation for your roles, you started online blogging and keeping diaries as well to get into character. Did you find that useful, and did you actually really go for it with this stuff?
I think Sid is probably the best person to. He kind of started off. No, I mean he had kind of had the starting idea to write a diary for his character, and then I turned that for Scout into an online diary because I thought she was that kind of.
Go on and give us
person who put her feelings out
give us something.
Well, you can look it up. You can look it up online if you
want.
want to. It's live journal. Her name is Scout's Diary.
Scout's Diary, yeah.
And you can find it online if you want to.
Right, so in the manner of the film, can you tell us a secret about Scout that we don't know?
Oh gosh,
She's
wow.
not on the blog.
She's not a bitch. No, she comes across that way. Got a secret about Scout. I don't know if it's a secret, but I think the main feeling about Scout is that she feels. There's a great scene where she's sitting in front of the landscape of Shrewsbury, and like normally I think in a film that would be like, look at the freedom, look at the amazing landscape, and for her it's a trap. She's stuck in this place that she doesn't want to be. And I think that's the kind of crux of the character. I don't know if that's a secret.
There was that line, wasn't there, where she said she hated trees. It's a very odd thing to say, quite frankly. I also read that you guys went on dates in character. How the hell does that work? Do you keep that going through the night? And I guess if you're really in character, did anyone get lucky at the end of it?
No. Sid.
Hi.
Tell us about the dates.
Dates? I can't remember.
Went for a meal.
Oh yeah, I don't care.
Oh, we did actually, yeah. I remember now when we did the very intense scene where Chris kind of nearly batters Scout at the film. After that scene, because it was so intense, I don't know how many times we did it.
About 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
More than that.
More than that. I thought it was a good 15. Yanking out pub and stuff. Anyway, so after that, we were so emotionally drained. Rob just gave us like 40 quid and said, "Here, treat yourself to a curry."
Yeah, we had this curry. Yeah, we were sat opposite each other, going like. Because we got on really well.
Yeah,
so
we did a click at first, didn't we?
We didn't click at first, so we think we both looked at each other right.
Yeah, I'm from Mars, you're from Venus.
Yeah, then we got on really well, but
Yeah.
we had to do this fight scene, and then afterwards we were literally sat in a restaurant opposite each other going, "Hi."
Yeah.
So.
After a glass of red, you were fine.
Yeah. That's enough. Right.
You lot are all smiles tonight, which is totally different from the miserable old sods we've just seen up on screen. They're really miserable. Are any of you lot like that in real life? Were there similarities between yourselves and the characters you think?
Well, you had it to me.
Because you're the moodiest of the lot.
Yeah, I frequently masturbate in sinks at home. Hi, Mum. No, I was actually a comedian before I came on to Strings. I used to do some stand-up comedy, and I sent in an audition tape because of a friend filmmaker I had at university, and then met Rob in Birmingham, and he gave me a bag of rice as a signing present, and it sort of took off from there. And I sort of started reading
that one. we were meant to meet.
Really low.
We were meant to meet in
Low budget
Birmingham,
filmmaking.
and he told me to meet. I think it was like 12 o'clock outside the Statue of the Bull, and my train was delayed by an hour. So apparently Rob and Nathan were stood outside the Statue of the Bull, looking at some guy that looked a little bit like me but wasn't like me at all, saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if that was Ollie?" And then it sort of time progressed, and he said, "What if that is Ollie?" And then I turned up an hour late, and he said, "Oh, thank God it wasn't Ollie." And
So
he gave me a
we
bag
gave
of
you a bag of
rice.
rice.
And he gave me a bag of rice. Just in congratulations that I was not someone else.
Well, after you got over that rather awkward first meeting, let me ask you, were you nervous in that essentially you're sharing the bulk of your scenes with an actress who has had stage experience? She's been flown over from Germany to the UK, so she's kind of getting the star treatment. Does that anticipation, does it raise your game as an actor?
Well, in the sense that they had a date, I talked to Philine and we started staying away from each other a little bit more because our characters are a little bit more separated in the film, although we have a lot more sex. So we came together for the scenes and we discussed what was going to happen beforehand. And there was one point where Rob sent us off together, which we found a little bit helpful, but we decided that it was more helpful for the characters to seem distant, to stay apart and just come together for those brief moments. So yeah, it was when I was working with her. She was a delight to work with, and it was. Don't laugh. You were for me. Just taking it in stride, and we learned a lot from each other.
I'm getting the impression between the crusty pizza boxes and the bag of rice that this guy's a real party animal, and I understand that your 18th birthday, which is a huge milestone for anybody, this guy, his first day of shoot on his first feature film on his 18th birthday, that is great. I think the best part of the story though is that you celebrated by watching Mamma Mia.
Drinking whiskey.
No, in all seriousness, tell us how that was. You must have been, I imagine you were nostalgic for it as it was happening. It must have been a great 18th.
I think we kind of planned it because we thought people would maybe give us a bit more leeway. If I was like, it's my birthday, so be nice to me, it's my first day. So we planned the biggest scene. We did all the party scenes at the beginning, where I had all these people and I had these various different cutaways we needed to get, and it was one of the hardest days. And we planned that on my birthday because we thought, we've got all the extras here, let's kind of have a birthday party and I'll just film it. So I'll have a birthday party, but I won't get involved. So I kind of watched my own birthday party happening and didn't get to join in.
Well, that segues brilliantly into my next question, in that if anybody out there, is an independent filmmaker and has done one of these party group scenes, usually you're on a budget and you'll get your friends involved. But the thing with working with friends is they'll turn up, they'll get drunk, and it's dangerous work, isn't it? Like, I was quite impressed, I have to say, with the number of people. It seemed that you marshalled those scenes pretty well. Did they go according to plan?
Well, you say the friends are the ones that get drunk. We had a problem with some of the actors getting drunk, especially on the first day. No, it was fine. Like I said, we used not Anne. We used these kind of key days, like my birthday. We thought we could probably get people down. We could probably make that fly, and we got the band, who were quite a big local band, to agree to do a free concert for us. So the people came to that expecting a free concert that was just going to be filmed. So instead of me stopping and starting and saying, stop halfway through the song while we do this shot again, they literally just did a concert and we filmed what we needed to film as it went on. They just said, by entering the concert, you're agreeing to be in this film.
And I understand that you had raised the money for this movie when you were 17, you and your producer. How does that work? Because you must have been, I can't imagine that it all came from minimum wage jobs, and you're in school. And so how did you make the money for the film, and how much was the total budget?
Well, the total shooting budget was around 3,000. It kind of escalated as we went on, but around that amount. And a lot of it was raised by doing minimum income jobs. And we had about £1,000 raised. And I was speaking to Nathan, the producer, one night, and we were saying, we're doing a low budget feature and it's ambitious, but £1,000 is probably too ambitious. We probably can't make this film unless we have another £1,000 at least. So as I was talking to him, as we were trying to think of ways like selling our body to science or any feasible way.
The old Robert Rodriguez method.
Exactly. Any way of getting some more money, I was checking my emails and I found out that a short film that I'd made in college called Act, that was literally just shot with my friends on a handycam, had just won a Canadian film festival, and for the sum of £1,500. As we were talking, genuinely, as we were talking, it came through. So I was like, Nathan, we've saved the film. And from there, after we had, it's kind of weird. When we had no money, it was impossible to get anyone to talk to us because everyone thought it's not going to happen. As soon as we had £2,000, it was a lot easier to talk to the local council. We said, now we've got £2,000, we just want another £1,000 to finish this film. So we applied for a council grant, and we got the next £1,000 because we'd got the previous two. Even though we'd applied to them before with no money to our name, and they said no.
Fantastic. I think if there are any filmmakers in the audience, that's pretty inspiring that you managed to do. And how long, over what period of time did you amass that budget?
About a year.
Now, Sid and Hannah, I wanted to ask you about your characters' relationship, and where do you think, at what point in the film does it go wrong for them? Or maybe, were they wrong for each other from the start, do you think?
Wow.
That's a really hard question, that is.
I don't know. I think when I first read the script, my idea of Chris was someone completely different than how it turned out. And maybe that's the same for you.
Yeah, that's the same for me as well. Because when I looked at the script, when we all looked at the script, Chris was just, just the boyfriend. There wasn't really any substance to him. I think that's where, when we started to do our... well, no, can't take that back. Really sorry. No, anyway, moving on. That's when we started to do the online diaries and a lot of blogs that kind of helped to fill that kind of background and to develop the relationship more.
Yeah, I think we got on really well, and I think that comes across in the performance. I think, in a sense, when you look at the two relationships, it almost seems like it should be the other way around.
Yeah.
Like, Grace and that relationship, that should be the kind of like touchy-feely, cutesy one, whereas our one actually turned out to be that way, just because we got on so well, and that came across in the improvisation. And I think that made it all more hard. I think my perspective on that would be that she's looking for a way out of that place. And the only way that she can get out of that relationship, because I think she sees everything as a trap, is by cheating on him. She can't talk to him about how she feels. She can't talk to him and say, I think this relationship isn't going right, or like have a conversation. She just has to act because she needs to get out, and then she does what she thinks is necessary. And it's sad, because I think there is something really good there.
It's especially when just one particular scene when we did the red truck scene, as it's called. It's when Scout's putting him down, and I generally in that scene I felt so heartbroken in a way. I think that's how much it kind of developed, and the reaction, it was just it's like just kicking a puppy, isn't it?
The scene you're talking about in the red truck, in fact, we only shot that. We only did 1 or 2 takes of that, I think. The reason that it keeps jump cutting from that same angle is because we just ran through that whole take from the very beginning, and you could tell that you had that kind of feeling.
I was devastated. I was like, why is she doing this to me?
And it was so intense that first time. We thought if we get all the standards, cutaways and everything like that, it's just going to distill the moment. So we just kept that one angle.
I think there's a flippancy as well about that. She's like, oh, I can do what I want. I can throw you away, and I think there's something really horrible about that. But I think people do act that way. I think you kind of take for granted what you have, and then I don't know. It's interesting to watch.
It's very complicated, isn't it?
I hope it makes sense when you watch it as well. Because I don't know when she cheats on him. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if it does. I hope it makes sense now anyway.
Would it be fair to say, Rob, that I felt anyway, at least watching it, that our two couples, it's not an equally weighted relationship in either case. You seem to be, from my perspective, far more interested in the female characters in both instances.
I think that's by accident, really. I think, or perhaps it's because I knew that I was making a film about people my own age, and I really didn't want to focus on somebody who was essentially me. I didn't want to look like I was getting out my dirty laundry on camera, even though it probably does. so I don't know. I found that approaching it through the female characters was a lot more interesting for me because a lot of my friends were going through the same things at the time. It wasn't like this was some kind of distant thing that I was remembering. It was happening to me right then and there, to the people around me. So yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of me in all the characters. So I kind of thought it was more interesting to go through this this character of Grace.
And just a couple of technical questions for the camera nerds out there before we open it up to the crowd. I wanted to ask you about the colour of this film. I'm thinking of one scene in particular where the two girls are on the train. It's before they go on their bender, and it's like a muted grey palette. And I was wondering, is that an in-camera filter or is that post-colorization in the edit?
I mean, we tried to shoot a lot in camera. I mean, that scene looks that way partly because the train didn't have very much light, so we chose to shoot it in this kind of shadowy grey aesthetic, and also anywhere we could bring colour into the film by filtering in camera, for instance, where she's putting the pink sheet to make her den and the light is shining up pink on her face. I always find that very interesting. I mean, the film that I watched religiously before making this was Traffic, the Steven Soderbergh movie, which has 3 distinct colour schemes to represent different story strands. So I really wanted it to be, I didn't want it to be one of those desaturated, grimy, grainy British films. I wanted it to be colourful, and I wanted it to look like the 3 Colours trilogy or Soderbergh film.
Now, I think everyone sitting here would have been surprised during the scene when Oliver he's telling a secret and the camera pulls back to reveal the crew shooting that scene. And of course there's also the paranormal activity moment where you tell the cameraman to F off. And the way I took it at least was that is he essentially saying that all secrets, especially teenage ones, they're essentially self-dramatizing constructs. And he's always talking about he wants to be a real person. And to him, paradoxically, does that mean getting his movie star moment?
I think you're right. I think that I was watching a lot of Lars von Trier at the time, and he uses these kind of alienation devices, like in Breaking the Waves, he has the character look at the camera at certain moments to kind of almost ask them to challenge her decisions. And I wanted to make a movie about teenage relationships that was about the quieter moments that never get on screen. You know, it's about saying the wrong thing after sex. It's about those awkward little moments rather than the big dramatic scenes where people are shouting at each other. And I always think that the moments in relationships that are so well documented in films, the time that you say I love you, or the breakup, or the time you lose your virginity. I mean, it never feels quite real because it's so well documented in all these coming of age movies. It always feels like you're just acting out a scene when you're saying, you know, it's not you, it's me, I'm dumping you. So I wanted to I think the film needs a moment where those characters connect in that way, but at the same time, for me at least, whenever I have a moment like that, it never feels quite real. It always feels quite dramatised.
Like a movie moment.
Like, yeah. So I wanted to give each character, or at least some of the main characters, a moment where they kind of break out of their own drama that they're creating around themselves.
Okay, and I think at this point we're going to hand it over to you guys, so if anyone has any questions for Rob and the cast, we have a roving mic here, so yeah, this gentleman.
Question for Rob, really. Education's taken a real hammering these days outside of this cinema. Education and how it's actually led it. Or can I just ask, did you ever have a favourite teacher, Rob?
This is John Comerford here, my sixth form teacher, who is also accredited associate producer on the film.
My name came up first, thank you.
That's quite all right, John. I'm with you. I mean, we gave the Shrewsbury Sixth Form thanks on here because they again encouraged me to make this into a big, ambitious feature, as well as looking the other way while I stole anything I could from the college, as well as letting me shoot there. I'm not going to tell you who my favourite teacher is.
Any more for any more? Right, we have one right at the back.
I've got to say, Rob, casting, great. He's exactly like you.
Well, Rob says there's a bit of him and everyone. I got his hair.
The family around the table when Ollie's having dinner with his family is Rob's family. I think they fit in quite well.
Over here in the checkered shirt. Is that a question, or were you?
Oh no, I was just scratching myself.
Yeah, over here on the
Yeah, I was just curious, did you shoot with your own equipment, or did you use the college's equipment you said, or?
No, it was strange. We were considering just shooting. Like I said, I was into Lars von Trier a lot of the time, and I was thinking, let's just make it very grimy and low budget, and let's shoot on a Handycam and just try and get the performances really raw. And we started asking around, and we spoke to Fight the Bear, who were the band that played the concert at the end, who were this big local band, and they were like, "Yeah, great, you're making a movie. Is there any of this equipment that I've got that could be of use?" And he listed everything we were looking for. He listed the camera, he listed the lights, he pretty much rented us out the equipment for the shoot. So we managed to shoot with an SG blade lens adapter, which gives it that nice kind of filmic look.
Probably got time for just one more. Here in the front.
After all the process of the film, and since you started writing, what would you do in a different way now?
I don't think I'd actually do anything differently, and not to say that I wouldn't. That I would make a different film again, because I think if I was to make a feature film now, I'd make it very, very differently. But I think, especially watching this almost 2 years later, it's so close to how I wanted it to be at that point. It's so close to how I was feeling at that time. It kind of encapsulates that time in my life, which is, isn't always fun to watch for me, but I like that it exists as it does, because that's what I wanted to make at the time.
1,000 people. It's quite an honour, to be fair. Not anymore, Anne. It's gone.
Oh. I think if you work in film or you act, it's difficult to hope too much, I think. And I don't think I would have thought this could happen, and it has, and you're all here, and it's great. So thanks for coming. Thanks for making it, Rob. Thanks for casting me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty surreal. I mean, I never really expected it to be on this scale. I just plodded along as usual, But sitting here tonight with all you guys, it's just turned right at the end credits. I just turned around to Hannah and just said, "We all did that," and it just kind of really sunk in for me tonight. So yeah, I'm still a bit overwhelmed in a way. But yeah, it's amazing.
Well, thank you all. You've been really gracious with your time on behalf of Raindance and this great crowd tonight. Thanks so much for coming down and chatting with us.